Part 1, The Spark. I was 24 when I realized I was tired of surviving. Every day looked the same: alarm at 6:30, drive 30 minutes to a warehouse on the edge of town, scan boxes, lift packages, repeat. By the time I got home, my back hurt, my hands were sore, and I still had $42 left in my checking account. Rent, gas, cheap food, that's all life was. I wasn't miserable, but I wasn't alive either. Then one night, everything changed because of a stupid YouTube video. I was scrolling aimlessly, half asleep, when a thumbnail caught my eye. It said, "I built a six-figure online store from my bedroom." I clicked it. The guy in the video was maybe a year older than me, sitting in a hoodie, talking about Shopify, dropshipping, and financial freedom. I didn't even understand half the words he said, but something about the way he talked. It felt possible. Like maybe the world had a door I hadn't opened yet. For the next few hours, I fell down the rabbit hole. Tutorials, motivation videos, stories of people who went from broke to successful with just Wi-Fi and a laptop. It felt insane, but for the first time in years, I felt hope. The next morning, I couldn't focus at work. All I could think about was, what if I could do that too? I didn't have money. Didn't have experience. Didn't even have a laptop that worked properly. I had to borrow my cousin's old one. But I had time. And I had curiosity. So I started learning. Every lunch break, every late night, I watched videos, read blogs, took notes. How to find products. How to build a store. How to run ads. It felt like I was learning a new language, the language of possibility. After 2 weeks, I decided to try. I opened a Shopify trial, picked a random product, a posture corrector, because some guy online said it was trending. I made a logo on Canva, bought a $2 domain, and hit publish. I was terrified. But it felt good. I ran my first Facebook ad with $20. No sales. Next day, nothing. Next week, still nothing. I started doubting everything. Maybe this stuff only worked for those people, the ones with money, confidence, connections. Not for someone like me, who barely knew how to spell entrepreneur. But every time I thought about quitting, I remembered that warehouse. The noise, the fluorescent lights, the endless repetition. And I told myself, I'd rather fail chasing something than die doing nothing. So I kept going. I changed the product. Tried a phone case. Then a kitchen gadget. Then a bracelet for anxiety. Failed every time. But I was learning with each mistake. How ads worked. How people clicked, scrolled, bought, ignored. It was like building muscles, invisible ones. 3 months passed, and my savings were gone. My mom started asking why I looked tired all the time. I told her I was working on something. She smiled, the kind of smile parents give when they don't want to say "I don't believe you." Then one day, while scrolling through TikTok, I saw a video of someone selling minimalist wallets. Sleek, clean, simple. It had millions of views. And something clicked. That night, I built a new store, my 5th one. I called it Urban Carry. I didn't overthink it. I wrote honest descriptions, used free photos, and created a simple slogan: carry less, live more. When I launched the ads, I expected nothing. I went to sleep like every other night, broke, uncertain, exhausted. The next morning, I woke up and opened my Shopify dashboard out of habit. And there it was. A sale. One single sale. It was only $34.99. But I stared at that number for 5 minutes straight. Because it wasn't just a sale, it was proof. Proof that something I built, from my tiny room, could actually work. That was the spark. The tiny flame that would change everything. Part 2, The Struggle. The first sale changed everything. Not my life, not yet, but my mindset. I finally believed it was possible. That $34.99 felt better than any paycheck I'd ever earned at the warehouse. Because for once, I made money from something I created. So I doubled down. I took every dollar I could spare and poured it into ads. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I tried them all. I learned what CPM meant, what center was, how to target, how to retarget. Half the time I didn't understand what I was doing, but I kept pushing buttons, reading forums, watching tutorials at 2 a.m. And it started to work. Slowly. I went from 1 sale a week to 1 sale a day. Then 2. Then 5. But with each new order came new problems. Shipping delays. Angry customers. Refunds. People didn't care that I was just one guy running everything from his bedroom. They wanted their wallets now. I was exhausted. Between packing orders, answering emails, and working my warehouse job, I was barely sleeping. My room looked like a mini fulfillment center, boxes stacked on the floor, printer paper everywhere, coffee cups piling up. But I loved it. Because it was mine. After 4 months, I decided to take a huge risk. I quit my job. My mom thought I was insane. My friends said, "Bro, what if this doesn't work?" And honestly, I didn't have an answer. But something inside me said, "You'll figure it out." So I did. The next few weeks were chaos. I spent every waking hour tweaking ads, testing creatives, and emailing suppliers. I was living off instant noodles and caffeine. But the sales started climbing. One day, I hit $1,000 in a single day. It felt surreal. Like I'd cracked some kind of code. But the internet has a funny way of humbling you. A week later, my ad account got banned. No warning. No explanation. Just your account has been disabled for violating advertising policies. Overnight, my income disappeared. I remember staring at my screen, heart racing, hands shaking. I had no backup plan. No savings. No idea what to do next. That night, I sat in my car, parked outside a gas station, trying not to cry. I kept thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then I remembered that first sale. The spark. That moment when I realized what was possible. And I knew I couldn't quit. Not yet. Part 2, The Struggle. The first sale changed everything. Not my life, not yet, but my mindset. I finally believed it was possible. That $34.99 felt better than any paycheck I'd ever earned at the warehouse. Because for once, I made money from something I created. So I doubled down. I took every dollar I could spare and poured it into ads. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, I tried them all. I learned what CPM meant, what center was, how to target, how to retarget. Half the time I didn't understand what I was doing, but I kept pushing buttons, reading forums, watching tutorials at 2 a.m. And it started to work. Slowly. I went from 1 sale a week to 1 sale a day. Then 2. Then 5. But with each new order came new problems. Shipping delays. Angry customers. Refunds. People didn't care that I was just one guy running everything from his bedroom. They wanted their wallets now. I was exhausted. Between packing orders, answering emails, and working my warehouse job, I was barely sleeping. My room looked like a mini fulfillment center, boxes stacked on the floor, printer paper everywhere, coffee cups piling up. But I loved it. Because it was mine. After 4 months, I decided to take a huge risk. I quit my job. My mom thought I was insane. My friends said, "Bro, what if this doesn't work?" And honestly, I didn't have an answer. But something inside me said, "You'll figure it out." So I did. The next few weeks were chaos. I spent every waking hour tweaking ads, testing creatives, and emailing suppliers. I was living off instant noodles and caffeine. But the sales started climbing. One day, I hit $1,000 in a single day. It felt surreal. Like I'd cracked some kind of code. But the internet has a funny way of humbling you. A week later, my ad account got banned. No warning. No explanation. Just your account has been disabled for violating advertising policies. Overnight, my income disappeared. I remember staring at my screen, heart racing, hands shaking. I had no backup plan. No savings. No idea what to do next. That night, I sat in my car, parked outside a gas station, trying not to cry. I kept thinking, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But then I remembered that first sale. The spark. That moment when I realized what was possible. And I knew I couldn't quit. Not yet. Part 3, The Breakthrough. I hit a wall, hard. There was a morning when I woke up, opened my laptop, and just stared at the screen. The Shopify dashboard looked the same as always, but I felt nothing. No excitement. No drive. Just exhaustion. I hadn't taken a day off in months. My diet was caffeine and fast food. My life revolved around clicks, conversions, and customer tickets. And yet, for all the effort, I still wasn't where I thought I'd be. That's when I realized something. I built a business, but I'd lost myself in it. So I shut everything down for a week. No ads. No laptop. No notifications. Just me, my notebook, and silence. It felt weird at first, like detoxing from chaos. But slowly, I started to think clearly again. I asked myself, what do I actually want? Is it money? Freedom? Or just to prove I'm not a failure? That week changed everything. Because when I came back, I stopped trying to hack success. Instead, I decided to build something real. I scrapped my old products and looked for something I actually cared about. Something that mattered. And funny enough, inspiration came from my own burnout. I'd been feeling constantly anxious and overstimulated, notifications, deadlines, noise. So I thought, what if I sell something that helps people slow down? That's how I found my next product, minimalist desk setups. Simple, aesthetic workspace items, wooden laptop stands, soft LED lamps, and clean cable organizers. I wanted to sell peace of mind, not just stuff. I rebuilt my brand from scratch, name, logo, story, everything. This time I called it Still Space. The tagline, find calm in the chaos. I poured my heart into it. The website wasn't flashy, it was warm, quiet, intentional. Every product page told a story. Every photo made you feel something. When I launched the store, I didn't expect much. But this time, the response was different. People started commenting things like, "This is exactly what I needed. Your brand feels peaceful." It wasn't about virality anymore, it was about connection. Sales grew slowly but steadily. $100 days turned into $300, then $700. Then one morning, I woke up to see $2,400 in a single day. I just sat there, staring at the screen again, but this time, it wasn't emptiness I felt. It was gratitude. Because I realized, this wasn't luck. This was years of falling, learning, rebuilding, and staying in the game when most people quit. Still Space became something bigger than a store. It became a message, that simplicity isn't weakness, and slowing down isn't failure. I started posting on TikTok about my journey. Not fake success videos, real moments, me packing boxes, making mistakes, talking about mental health and business. People related to it. The first video hit 1 million views in 3 days. The second hit 2 million. And suddenly, my inbox was full of messages from people saying, "You made me start my own business. Your story gave me hope." It hit me, this was the real breakthrough. Not the money. Not the metrics. But realizing that success means something different for everyone. For me, it wasn't about escaping the 9-to-5 anymore. It was about building something meaningful, something that gave others what I once needed, belief. By the end of that year, Still Space crossed 6 figures in sales. But what I remember most isn't the number, it's the feeling of waking up without anxiety for the first time in years. I finally understood what Chris, my mentor, meant when he said, "This game isn't about making money fast. It's about staying alive long enough to figure it out." I'd figured it out. At least, I thought I had. But success comes with new challenges, bigger ones. Because once you start to rise, the question becomes, how do you stay true to yourself when everything around you starts changing? Part 4, What Success Really Means. It's strange how success sneaks up on you. You chase it for years, thinking it's some huge moment, some explosion of fireworks and applause. But when it finally comes, it's quiet. No one claps when your store hits six figures. No one throws a parade when you pay off your debts. You just look around your tiny apartment and realize, you did it. Still Space kept growing. I hired my first team member, a designer from Florida I met online. Then another guy to handle logistics. We built systems, launched new products, improved shipping. Things were finally stable. And yet, I started feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time: emptiness. It wasn't burnout this time. It was something else. A quiet voice in my head asking, "Now what?" I had everything I thought I wanted. Money. Freedom. Respect. But when I looked back, I realized I'd been running so fast that I'd forgotten why I started in the first place. One night, I went for a drive, no music, no GPS, just empty roads and my thoughts. I ended up parking near the old warehouse where I used to work. It was late, lights off, the same smell of dust and metal in the air. I sat there for a long time, remembering the version of me who once dreamed of escaping that place. And I realized something important: the kid who started all this didn't want to be rich. He just wanted to feel free. That night, I made a promise to myself: no matter how big the business gets, I won't lose sight of the why. So I started giving back. I began mentoring a few younger entrepreneurs, guys who reminded me of myself 3 years earlier. I shared everything I'd learned: the wins, the failures, the burnout, the loneliness. I told them the truth: the hardest part isn't starting. It's staying kind and curious when success tries to turn you into someone else. Still Space turned into a community. People weren't just buying products, they were sharing stories. Students, freelancers, creators, all chasing calm in their own chaos. And for the first time, I felt peace. Not the kind that comes from a full bank account, but from knowing I was doing something that mattered. A few months later, I got an email that made me tear up. It was from a guy named Alex, who wrote, "Your story made me quit a job I hated and start my own thing. I don't make much yet, but I finally wake up excited again. Thank you." I read that line 3 times. It reminded me of how this all began: one random video on YouTube, one spark that changed everything. Maybe that's what success really is: passing the spark forward. Now, when people ask what I do for a living, I don't say I run an e-commerce brand. I tell them, I build stories that help people breathe again. Because that's what Still Space became: not just a business, but a reminder that you don't need to have it all figured out to start. You just need to start. And keep going, even when it's messy, even when no one believes in you. I'm still learning. Still growing. Still falling and getting back up. But when I look at where I came from that warehouse floor to here, I know one thing for sure. I didn't just build a business. I built myself. And that's what success really means: